When doing your lesson preparation, you must remember to make sure you're including all of your students. This includes students with disabilities and students that are ELL learners. I have just started my internship and I am now realizing how much work goes into lesson preparation. Not only do you have to write out your lesson plans, but you also need to find materials such as worksheets, projects, and videos that go along with the material you're teaching. Besides all of that, you need to differentiate instruction for all of your students that have needs and specific accommodations and interventions for other students. One of the ways you can help ELL students is by helping them with their text. It's hard enough reading in a new language for the first time, but there's some things you can do to help them. Some things are underlining, highlighting keywords, enlarging the text is a really big thing because they're learning a new language, so they need to be able to see what they're doing. And also visuals is another important thing. So the objective is that students will be able to identify keywords with the highlighter from each paragraph, but when they're starting off, you should be having the keywords already highlighted so they can see what they're learning. So the book talks about highlighting keywords that are vocabulary words, but you also have to think about what you're teaching the student. So when I was teaching text structure to my students, I wouldn't be highlighting the keywords that are vocabulary words, I would be highlighting the text structure words. So for example, if you're doing sequence, you'd be like first, second, third. If you're doing compare and contrast, you'd be like difference, similarities. And this was the worksheet I did with my students. I don't have any ELL students in my class, but I made the same worksheet into one I would give an ELL student. So my worksheet for my students was inside, the font was size 11, but for ELLs I made it into size 14. I also changed some different things. So for my students, they have to underline or find the keywords themselves in the paragraphs. But for ELL students, I did that for them. So they're going to have to already have the keywords, and then they just have to look at the keywords and read the paragraph and then determine which text structure it is. Also, my students had to figure out on their own which text structure it was and write it down. For my ELL students, I would give them a choice of 4 and then they just have to circle it. So for this passage, the students would look at the keywords two ways, both, difference, and both, and then they'd have to decide out of all of these options which one it is. So obviously with those keywords, there'd be a compare and contrast. For this passage, students are looking at the words born, age of 6, 13, and then age of 14. So obviously it's going up in age, so that would be chronological. And then for this one, the students are looking at the keywords first, second, third, fourth. So that would be sequence. The reading book I work with in my internship class. I work with some of the students that are on a lower level. So I work in 4th grade. This is a 3rd grade book. So that's probably something you'll have to do with ELL students, is they'll have to go a level or a couple of levels below because they're not at the reading level. One thing we were doing main ideas and details. So this is something you can do with your students, is that you take sticky notes and you put it next to each paragraph. And the student will read the paragraph and then they will have to decide what the main idea was for the first paragraph and write it down. So this is their key. They don't have to read the paragraph again, they know what it's about. And then they'll do the second paragraph and they'll do a detail about why that point was there. So like this was about that an island was being unique, so the next one was that they had a lot of fudge shops in it, and the next one was that they take ferries to get on and off the islands. So after they fill out all of the details for each paragraph, they all get a main idea sheet, and this is also something you can use with ELL students because it's a visual. And they'll put the main idea, it's a main idea table, so they put the main idea in the middle, and then they have to pick 4 out of the 5 details they put in here. They put 1 on each leg, and then they cut it out and it's a table. So this is something my students like, and ELL students will like it as well because it's hands-on and it's something that they can see. And they're not looking at all these words in the book, instead they just see the main idea and the details. This is one of my students' math tests, so you could do so much for this to change it for an ELL student. First off, all the font needs to be bigger. The visuals need to be bigger. I like that there's multiple choice. This will help the students instead of blank answers, which can be stressful for students because they don't have an option. Another thing I would do is highlight, underline words. So in here, the numbers, if you're having a word problem, which is probably too hard for some ELL students, you need to highlight the number so they see that it's 2.5 hours, and then they watch the game 4 times, so they need to highlight 4 times, and then so they know, the student knows it's 4 times 2.5. could be helpful for ELL students because there's a number line, so the students are seeing how far numbers are going from each other. So for this one, it's saying what are the 3 missing fractions. Students can see the pattern that's going from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 to 7, so they know that they just have to count. And then if they look at the bottom, it's all 5, so the student will think, oh, maybe they need more 5s underneath. So there's so many things to do when including an ELL student in your lesson preparation. Don't think one thing's wrong and one thing's right. So if you want to learn more about my strategy that I was talking about, it's in the textbook. It's on page 11. It's called Enlarge Adapt Text, and it talks about adding visuals, underlining, and enlarging the text.